When Ngozi Bello stepped off the Liat flight at Melville Hall Airport, the warm breath of Dominica greeted her like a mother's hug. She closed her eyes for a moment and inhaled the earthy scent of wild bay leaf, sea salt, and volcanic soil. The island was different from bustling Lagos. There was something pure here, something sacred. Her nursing degree had earned her offers from across the globe, but she chose Dominica for its blend of Christianity, herbal healing, and isolation. The Nature Isle, they called it, a place where secrets could hide in the thick of the rainforest, where screams could be swallowed by waterfalls. She took a taxi straight to Canfield Senior Manor, a peaceful care facility nestled on a green hill overlooking the Caribbean Sea. From the outside, it was paradise. Inside, it was purgatory. At 32, Nurse Bello was a vision. Tall, poised, with skin so smooth it looked carved from obsidian. Her voice carried the softness of honey, sweet, healing, and persuasive. But behind her captivating smile was a mind like a blade, sharp, compartmentalized, surgical. She learned the staff within a week. Head nurse Gemma, kind but overworked. Nurse Yvonne, jealous and bitter. 3 local caregivers, all in their 20s, who called her Queen Africa behind her back. She learned about the residents too. Some were pleasant, but 5, Miss Olivia Willis, age 75, confused and paranoid. Her voice constantly rang through the halls, accusing the staff of starving her. Talia Robin, 85, delusional and violent, claimed angels whispered in her ears, tried to stab a caregiver after accusing her of poisoning the food. Mr. Mark Henderson, 83, belligerent, racist, would spit on the nurses, urinate mid-hallway, and rip off his adult briefs like war medals. Mr. David Langley, 98, silent and tragic. Parkinson's had wrecked his body. A stroke had robbed him of speech. He only asked to sit outside and feel the wind. Miss Melline Lockhart, 95, blind, amputated below the knee, sweet when lucid, terrifying when confused. Ngozi bore it all, smiling, nodding, administering meds, saying prayers aloud with Christian patience, singing Igbo lullabies to ease the others. But under her breath she was taking notes, the kind of notes no nurse is ever meant to write. The breaking point came on a rainy Sunday. Mr. Henderson had defecated in his bed, again, the 3rd time that morning. Bello entered to clean him up. He looked her dead in the eye and said, "You jungle witch, my dog had more class than you." Ngozi froze. Something cracked. She finished cleaning him up in silence, her hands moving like machines, but when she returned to the supply closet, she stood still in the dark and whispered, "If I am a witch, then let me give him what he asked for." The next day, Mr. Henderson received a new prescription, a minor switch in dosage. His insulin was mixed with a sedative that slowed his heart. 2 days later, he had a seizure. Nurses tried to revive him. He died within 5 minutes. A silent funeral was held. No one questioned it. After all, he was old, sick, troubled, Ngozi smiled through the memorial. "Rest in peace, Mr. Henderson," she whispered. "May your next life be less disgusting." Talia Robin was next. That night, she lunged at a caregiver with a butter knife. It was the third violent incident in 2 weeks. Staff debated transferring her to a psychiatric ward. Ngozi offered to watch her overnight. "I have experience," she said softly. She adjusted Robin's IV, swapped one of the vials. A small tweak. No violence that night. At 3:07 a.m., Robin began screaming in tongues. At 3:10, she was unresponsive. The report read, "Hypoglycemic shock, deceased before transport." Another death. Another closed file. Ngozi wore white to the memorial. "She's with the angels now," she whispered to the chapel walls. She always thought they were talking to her. Miss Olivia was crumbling. "No one feeds me," she wailed. "They want me dead." She wasn't far off. Bello began tampering with her blood pressure meds. Not enough to kill instantly, but enough to create chaos in her vascular system. Olivia complained of dizziness, heart palpitations, and hallucinations. On the 4th day, she collapsed during breakfast. Cause of death: cardiac failure triggered by pre-existing hypertension. Bello placed a daisy in her casket. "I hope your next world has food aplenty." Mr. David Langley was the one she regretted. Almost. He reminded her of her grandfather, gentle, silent, stoic. But he had seen something. Weeks before, he had watched her from the hallway as she adjusted Olivia's meds. He could barely move, but his eyes had followed her, and she saw it. One morning, she wheeled him to the veranda. The floor had just been mopped. She left the bucket in the middle of the hallway. He tried to walk, slipped, hit his head. Blood poured from a cracked skull and a twisted leg. 3 caregivers saw it all. They screamed, they called the ambulance. Ngozi did not return to the scene. She took her time, then appeared calmly, gasping as if surprised. Her eyes widened until they saw the blood, and then she smiled, a slow, haunted, satisfied grin. She looked up at the caregivers. "God works in mysterious ways," she whispered. Miss Merlin Lockhart was dying. Slowly. She had grown attached to Ngozi, called her sunshine. That's why Bello gave her the kindest death. A mixture, clear and odorless, was introduced into her IV line. She moaned once in her sleep, and her heartbeat began to flutter. She died 3 days later. No pain, no panic, just stillness. Whispers began circulating. Too many deaths, too close together. No autopsies. The head nurse started asking questions. The administrator filed a report. Then, an anonymous tip was sent to police. But Nurse Ngozi Bello was already gone. She had packed that morning, removed her name tag, burned her uniform, booked a last-minute ferry ticket, not a flight, too easy to trace. When police arrived, her locker was empty, her room spotless, her phone smashed to bits in a trash bin. One caregiver swore they saw her walking toward the marina, braids tucked under a cap, Bible in hand, smiling. 2 months later, in St. Lucia, a private elderly couple hired a live-in nurse from Nigeria. Her name was Angela Eze. She arrived with a glowing recommendation, a sweet voice, and gentle hands. The wife swore the nurse looked familiar, but she couldn't place it. Late at night, neighbors sometimes hear her humming a lullaby, soft, hypnotic, and haunting. They say an elderly man passed away in her care last week. Peacefully, of course. Behind the smile of a nurse is the silence of her shadow. The end. I hope you enjoy Caribbean Voices stories. Tell a friend and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.